Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Movie Central, the place to talk about movies, TV shows based on movies, toys based on movies, games based on movies, and rides based on movies. I'm your host, Mr. CCS, and this is my pet gorilla, George. I have a question for you. What happens when a franchise or a form of media gets into the hands of huge corporations? Answer: they give that franchise another go. King Kong, Transformers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Spider-Man, Batman, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and the Peanuts movie are all pure examples of this happening. It's not an uncommon thing. Since it's so common, it obviously had to happen with a franchise as big as Star Wars. In 2012, the Walt Disney Company officially bought Lucasfilm, which meant Star Wars lived in the Mouse House now. And what did Disney do with Star Wars, you may be asking? Well, they turned Legends into non-canon. They canned Star Wars The Clone Wars. They almost made a Robot Chicken ripoff. And they announced new content. That's right, a new trilogy, a slew of spin-off movies, TV shows, games, comics, and many more forms of media. But I can't talk about everything they announced or did in this video. That's for another time. Today, I'm only going to focus on the first Star Wars movie that was produced under Disney's belt. You heard me right. Today, we're going to talk about Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens. Let's get to it. The story begins 30 years after the events of Star Wars Episode VI, Return of the Jedi. The First Order has risen from the ashes of the Galactic Empire and is opposed by General Leia, played by Carrie Fisher once more, and the Resistance, both of which seek to find the missing Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, played again by Mark Hamill. In the midst of this search, new heroes rise in the form of Rey, played by Daisy Ridley, a 19-year-old girl and Force-sensitive scavenger from Jakku, Finn, played by John Boyega, a stormtrooper who defected from the First Order, and Poe Dameron, played by Oscar Isaac, the best pilot in the Resistance. They are aided by Han Solo, played again by Harrison Ford, in their search for Skywalker, and their mission to destroy the First Order's new superweapon, Starkiller Base, which targets the New Republic and the Resistance for destruction. They are opposed by villains such as the dastardly Kylo Ren, played by Adam Driver, a dark warrior with a mysterious past, and General Armitage Hux, played by Dom Hall Gleason, the commander of Starkiller Base. This movie seems a little familiar to me. Desert kid, snarky flyboy, elderly mentor, guy in dark clothing with a mask, giant planet-destroying weapon, and a droid with some form of help in it. This is Star Wars Episode 4 all over again, isn't it? That's a little distracting for some, but not for me, because I can get past that fact and enjoy the movie that I had been waiting for since I was 6 years old. I cannot stress enough, but this movie has so much care put into it. Heavy use of practical effects, cool CGI, and much, much more. But more on this later. Let's talk about the characters. Rey wasn't the character I expected to be the lead for this film because the trailers didn't give that vibe. But I did get chills down my spine when she lifted the lightsaber out from the snow during the final battle. I was also surprised at how much of a good pilot she was, taking care of a rusty old Millennium Falcon, which hasn't flown in years. She's also really good with a lightsaber, showing how many connections there could have been. Don't worry, folks who have seen this movie and the entirety of the sequel trilogy. I'll get there soon. Yeah, Rey is a cool character, and one I would like to see a TV show of, if this version of the character from The Force Awakens is how they'll follow it. Finn is great too. Initially, though, through watching the trailers, I thought he was going to be the main character. But his lightsaber scenes are shown in the trailer, and that's pretty much it. Although that doesn't make him a bad character. He used to be a stormtrooper. But he does something that takes guts to do. He becomes a traitor and is a great asset in taking out the First Order. Poe Dameron is also great. He's not in this one much, but he'll get his time to shine. He spent most of the movie presumed dead before returning in an awesome scene, one of the best of the whole franchise's action moments. Seriously, that scene on Takodana always makes me think, yes, this is a Star Wars action scene. Now, before we get to the original characters, I have a few more to talk about. BB-8 is fun to watch, and he's also comedic. I also like seeing him put up the lighter as a thumbs up. Lol. He's a droid I'll follow in the new droid series if he turns up. Now we have the villains. Hux is a villain for the most part just to deliver a huge amount of dialogue, but he's still threatening nonetheless. But what about the main baddie? That goes to Kylo Ren. I know a lot of people like to complain about his temper tantrums, but honestly, I think that's just calling back to how whiny his grandfather was, if that wasn't painfully obvious already. Yep, Darth Vader is his grandfather, and that is his motivation. He wants to finish what Vader started. I also like his lightsaber. Ooh, crossguard. Now we get to the original characters. Han Solo gets the most screen time of them, so I'll just say this. He's lost his charm, but he can still take out his enemies. And yeah, I felt a whole weight fall down on my shoulders when Kylo Ren stabs him through the stomach and lets him fall down into the pit below. Damn, this stuff is powerful. Thankfully, Harrison Ford will come back for one last time in The Rise of Skywalker, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Leia is good too. I thought her introduction was perfect. And yes, this was Carrie Fisher's last real leading role before her death. Posthumous releases do not count. May the Force be with you, Carrie, and rest well. Aside from that, she still acts the same way as a woman who wants to bring peace to the galaxy, just as an elderly woman. R2-D2, Chewbacca, and C-3PO make a return, and they're just as great as ever. 3PO and Chewie get more screen time, whilst R2 has a quick cameo. And no, this scene wasn't in the official movie. This was a commercial that aired later or earlier. But I put it there because this is the only good shot of 3PO and R2 together in this film. But what about Luke Skywalker? Well, believe it or not, Mark Hamill has no lines and is on screen for a mere 30 to 45 seconds. And they still hyped him up for 3 years. Wow. That whole thing aside, Mark Hamill has some great acting with a mere expression on his face. Great job, Mark. You know how to play this character. Okay, how are the visuals? I said earlier, this film uses practical effects to create new creatures, droids, locations, and CGI is icing on the cake. This is how movies need to be, Michael Bay, not CGI Transformers with CGI explosions and CGI landscapes. Take notes! Okay, I'm just thinking out loud now. How's the music? Well, believe it or not, John Williams does a great job, even though he was in his late 70s and early 80s writing this. He's still doing what he does best by writing a score that complements the story and makes it even better. And the action is spot on. I'll just show you the frames of different action scenes and leave links in the description so you can see them. Because these scenes are some of the greatest in the whole franchise. The final lightsaber battle between Kylo Ren and Rey is living proof of that. As my final verdict, I just want to say that Disney made the right decision to bring in J.J. Abrams to direct this film. He's known for the Star Trek trilogy, which was well received and praised for visuals, story, and character development throughout the 3 films. It's clear that they knew he could do sci-fi, so they hired him, and he put as much care as he could into this film. And what he gave us was a stunning movie with great characters, amazing visuals, fantastic music, and stunning action scenes. Definitely worth your time if you are a Star Wars fan. That's why I can't give it anything but a solid 10 out of 10. The Force is with this film. Well, that's it for this video. What are your thoughts on Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens? Leave your comments below. Keep an eye out for next week's review, and like and subscribe if you haven't already. With that said, I'm Mr. CCS, this is Movie Central, and that, my friends, is a wrap. See you next week.